Beyond the veil. Exploring holistic realms. Journey into the unknown, combining holistic perspectives with the supernatural and delving into the mysteries of life and death experiences with your host, Julia.
Hello and good evening. I've always wanted to do that on the first of my show, just like the old 90s shows. Good evening. How are you this evening? I am your host, Julia Evans. Welcome to Beyond the Veil, Exploring Holistic Realms. Tonight's episode is number good 13. Ooh, I'm sounding spooky tonight. Oh no, I'm not at all. As many of you have tapped on before, 13 is one of my favorite numbers, and I almost had my Irish accent come on. 13 is such a powerful feminine energy, and it's often overlooked. It's overlooked because that feminine energy likes to be pushed aside. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're going to be talking about past experiences, past lives, the power of 13, and what is transpiring for me. So a few little, I don't know, what do you call it? The housekeeping things of today. 13th episode, a review of last week, because I like to always review the week before. As many of you have messaged me, last week's episode was that February 22nd. So that was a portal that was open, on the 2nd. So 222. That one had some major paranormal activity happening. It was live, but it absolutely did not tape. I ended up getting the first few minutes on tape, and a friend had messaged me. Oh, where did I put my phone? A friend had messaged me and said, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I have lots of things going on here. But a friend of mine had messaged me prior to the show and said, like, what's going on? I can't hear you. Okay. So, little thing that happened last week. So before this show, my friend had said, what on earth happened last week? You're going to catch me up. And I said, honestly, I don't even remember. So I looked through my files and my pictures, because I do tape this episode every week, and I do put it on YouTube. I put it on Julia Evans - The Lily Nurse. And all the episodes except for episode 12 is up there. So we delved into a little bit more of what needed to be said. So for those who weren't able to listen to it, perhaps that episode wasn't designed or meant for you. Don't be saddened by that. I am going to kind of tap in a little bit of what I talked about last week, trying to remember what I talked about. Honestly, it was almost like 100% blank for me, even today. And I went on to my files, my pictures and whatnot, and all the videos that I do. And I only had a few minutes of that last episode taped. And so what happened was, right before I came on, there was obviously the February portal. So every month has a portal that opens up, and a lot of energy is shifting, and there was sun flares, and with the new leap year, especially, my energies were just super high energy, because it was my birthday and everything happening with that. But there was some major paranormal activity, and things were kind of flying around in my room, and I logged on and I started talking, and I started saying hello to Allison, and I welcomed her back because she went on a beautiful trip with her mom and her daughter to see the wonderful land of Hogwarts, and I was living vicariously through her. So just a shout out to Allison. Her and her husband Matt are the ones that put together the Cosmos Astrium Radio. So thank you for providing this beautiful platform that I've had 13 glorious weeks talking to my listeners and tapping into wonderful things. But as I was looking on my computer screen, and for many of you who know this show, I normally have 4 screens that I'm looking at all at the same time. And I had planned, and that's the 3rd time I've done this, I had planned what I wanted to say, or a few things that I wanted to say with the portal and with what happened the episode prior to that, with that divine energy, that episode 11. And I like reflecting and talking a little bit on each program of what happened the previous week. And it started to say connect, disconnect again. And my light started flickering, my candles turned out. And obviously what I planned on talking about was not destined to be aired. And so I tried to leave my video, and I even say on my video, I'm going to leave this on so you can see what's happening behind the scenes. And all of a sudden, like, you see my eyes look like deer in headlights, and I have to zoom in because you can see something in my eyes, and the whole screen went blank. And I rebooted everything. I rebooted my broadcasting station and just rebooted everything, came back on, and I didn't miss too much of my episode, but I did have to finish it early just because I was a little scatterbrained, and what I was talking about last week was a little bit more in depth of what has been transpiring in my life of being, I was diagnosed with PTSD after almost 6 years of having a near-death experience, and I keep questioning that. I honestly don't think it's PTSD, and for those you who don't know what PTSD stands for, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I can tell you from deep down in my heart that the trauma that I endured was definitely not from my near-death experience, and I'm going to tap into that a little bit further tonight. It wasn't that. It was all the things that transpired after, and it was when you are completely taken out of your body. And I had an out-of-body experience, near-death experience. I did go to the light. I also went to the dark, and not that heaven and hell that you read about in the Bible and different religions. The darkness was about just separating from your belief systems, and you gain this beautiful insight, and it's almost like looking at your shadow self. You gain this beautiful insight of knowing, and it's that sixth sense, and you're able to tap into different energies. You're able to tap into something that already exists, but we create a veil in between us and that. And I got to dive deeper into my biggest thing, and it was the loss of my mother in 1983. And that was the hardest thing for me to ever get over. And honestly, I don't know if you ever get over that. You just learn how to breathe through and cope, and you gain different coping strategies to help you on your journey, whatever that is. For me, it was, and to this day, I'm going to say believing, because each person believes what they want to believe. I am a medium, and I can tap into that other side. A lot of people don't believe that. But tapping into that energy of talking to my mother, talking to loved ones who have crossed over, even talking to people when I do sessions with them of their loved ones, helping them not just see the light, but see, actually, I'm not even going to say see, tapping into a world that already exists side by side with us. But that was my coping. And another coping I had was the butterfly. And so anytime I was having a difficult time in my life or I needed guidance, my mother produced, and I'm going to say produced because I got to see butterflies throughout my existence. And I'm going to say that now I'm 44 years old. Ooh, if you tapped into my numerology thing, 4 + 4 is 8. So it's that fluidity that I'm living right now. And it's that everything is coming together, and it's that infinity sign, and it's that breath that I've never had before. So I will be talking a little bit about that. But it's that she would produce like these butterflies, either an actual butterfly or it would be this beautiful image of a butterfly. And I can tell story upon story of incidences that has happened from complete stranger. Complete stranger. I'm going to just talk a little bit about this, about my mom and some of the things where she's come through for me. It was years and years ago, and this little girl out of nowhere just walked up to me, grabbed my hand, like to hold my hand. I think I was 27 or something, and I was just having one of those mom moments with my son. And for all you moms out there, you know what I'm talking about. When you're completely exhausted, you haven't slept, your baby's teething, you're just like everything's upside down. And this little girl came up to me out of, it felt like thin air. And as I'm saying this, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this experience. And she put her left hand into my right hand. And I looked down, and she just looked right into my eyes, and she said, "I have a message for you." And I said, "Oh, okay." And back then I was almost skeptical of what I was experiencing. And she handed me a butterfly sticker and said, "She loves you and she's always with you. It's okay, you're doing a great job." And then this little girl went to the park and started playing. And I needed to hear that at that moment as a brand new mom. And I was struggling with, am I a good mom? Like, I need that validation. And I got it. So that's one incidence. And I'm just gonna say this as I'm starting this show. Most of my shows, and I'm gonna say most because 3 of my shows I actually planned on what I was gonna say. So there was Yule, that one was cut short, and there was a lot of paranormal activity in what I planned. It was like rerouted. There was another one. What was that one now? The portal was another one, and there was a third one. That happened, and every time I planned something, it just nope. The spirit realm or something out of our control, but what we flow with didn't want me to talk about that, and so the radio station either totally reboots or you can't hear me, and I have to like revamp my thoughts. So I come onto this radio show each and every week, and I just feel the energy of what needs to be said. And even coming on today, there was some stuff I wanted to talk about, and I said, I am really going to let that spirit realm and that supernatural, that paranormal, whatever you want to call it, the beyond the veil, to help me through this episode fully and completely. And so right now it just wants to talk about those synchronicities of butterflies and dimes and feathers that a lot of us seen throughout our lives, have experienced when we've lost a loved one. Another incident, and I'm going to say incident, experience. I want to say experience. I want to change that word. The first time that I got to experience my mom after she had passed away, I was in the garden, and I was probably, she died when I was 3. So I think I was about, I want to say, the summer after she passed away, because I remember very distinctly I was in the gardening. I was in the gardening with my father and my brother, and I have a call coming in. Just hang on a moment. Hello, you're on the air with Julia.
Hi, Julia. It's Chantel.
Hi,
How are you?
Hi, Chantel. Thank you for calling in. You're on air. What can I do for you, darling? What do you have, a question or comment?
Well, you're talking about things that appear, well, not really appear, but more in the sense that your family, your loved ones are letting you know they're there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, my grandmother is stupid squirrels.
Oh, is that the one that's running around our backyards right now?
The one that follows me around town?
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I see.
That thing, yeah. That thing gets fed very well, but I swear every time I see it, it's the first thing I think of is my grandmother.
So Chantel,
Um,
when she appears for you, is it moments that you need her the most, or that what's happening in your world
it
when she appears?
it's usually just out of the blue some of the time, and it's just like you need that good laugh almost. She has such a good sense of humor that, well, which my mother has now, but yeah, she always had a good sense of humor, and it's just like really that kind of thing going on. But there's so many signs out there that people just need to look, and like you said, there's butterflies for you and your
Mm-hmm.
mom, and it's just it's incredible little messages, but it's just looking.
It is.
I thought I'd give a call in.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Chantel. Chantel, while I have you on the phone, I'm just going to share with my viewers a story of you and I, if that's okay, with Terra Nova Terror.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
So for the viewers, this is my wonderful neighbor, Chantel. And Chantel, I love that the support you give me and how you put on your story and advertise this show. But you've always been a good support, even when I did Terra Nova Terra this year and rebranded. And Chantel was the one that helped me at the front door of the haunted house. And I do this every year, but this was the biggest year because it was the 9th year. But the huge, significant moment, I think, for you and I was when my cat Milo went missing. And I think you remember the story I'm going to talk about because we're both shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the solar eclipse, and Milo had been gone for about 2 or 3 days up to that point.
I
And
think it was 3, actually.
yeah, it was 3. You're right. It was 3. And we were just
Yeah.
closing the haunted house, and you and I were standing on the porch together, talking about Milo and how much he meant, not just to me, but to both of us. And he came to us. Do you remember that? And it looked like he was walking
Yeah.
the perimeter. You could see right through him. And remember I said to him, I think he just crossed over?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And I believe I think Kim was there too. Kim from the book. For those who know, I'm a best-selling author, but Kim was there as well with us. And the 3 of us saw Milo walking the perimeter. The next day, you had put out, what was it, over social media of my friend is missing her loving pet and we just need a sign or something. And right after that, somebody had found Milo's body outside of my house, like across the street, across the highway. And when we picked it up, so thank you to your husband Ryan for helping us through that and carrying the body back like it was a Viking, and it was a beautiful moment there. But when we took Milo to the vet, they said to us he would have been passed away just a few hours. And so that image of him gifted us that knowing that he was going to the light, but he was still protecting us. Now, when I was spending time in the backyard, because Chantel, I remember you couldn't come over, and that's completely fine. You helped me in so many other ways.
No.
But when I had him in that laundry basket before I took him to the vet to get cremated, and I went to pick him up, and the squirrel was there because it was his best friend. And I didn't realize that was your grandmother. And now we're both crying. But she came in, and it was such a beautiful moment. And it rained all these feathers. Remember I showed you pictures, and I picked up the laundry basket and I walked Milo to my car, and it was a path of beautiful white feathers. So for him, his message for me was that he was still going to protect me. But his greatest thing that he taught me was that I could love and be loved again, because my neighbor had mentioned to me that animals gift us the greatest gift of what we need to find within ourselves. Yeah. So I don't know, I had to share that story. But yeah, thank you for being there on those moments when we do tarot cards to haunted houses. And I will I'll send more Milo. Yeah.
So many stories from the haunted house.
Yes. Well, I think we're going to have to do a whole segment of Terra Nova Terra. I'm going to have to open up the TikToks and whatnot.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. So
That'd be a good idea.
that's going to be another venture that Chantel and I are kind of slowly tapping into, maybe a podcast or something on Terra Nova Terra. Chantel, thank you for all the support. Thank you for calling
You're
in,
welcome.
and I will talk to you
And
later.
don't forget, you have Luna now too.
I
and
do have
she
Luna.
Is a ball of fire.
She is a ball of fire.
Keep you on your toes.
She actually hid
She is
in.
a ball of fire.
She hid in here, so she could be in the show. And I'm like, no, you're too distracting, because she kept pushing out all these letters for me that I was like, I don't want to read those. I don't want to read those. And she was getting mad at me. But yeah, so thank you for calling in, Chantel. Bless, darling.
You're welcome.
Bless. Okay.
I'll talk to you later, though.
Bye, love.
Okay, bye.
So tonight I am taking phone calls. For those of you who want to call and who are in Saskatchewan, the local number is 306 400 3403. If you're not in Saskatchewan, there is a toll-free number. It's 1-877 229 5171 option 2. So that takes you to the radio station, and then they pop it onto my phone. So hopefully everybody heard Chantel, because it's just through my phone, and I hope the speaker is okay on that. So thank you to Chantel for calling in. And her grandmother, her grandmother comes around here a lot and used to play with Milo every day. And the squirrel, it was minus, I think it was almost minus 40 yesterday, and the squirrel came out and was just a chirping away. So I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to keep my eye out for Chantel's grandmother and see if there's any other messages. So thanks for calling in there. Other ways you can get a hold of me is through Discord. I like it when people comment on there too. I try to get to all the comments as quick as I can. If I miss one, I do apologize, but I will normally get back to them. Some people message me through Facebook Messenger, and so I do always have 4 screens going all at the same time, just so I can help people if they have any questions or anything like that. So back to what I was saying, those signs. And my mother, the first time she came in as a butterfly it was the summer after she passed away, because she passed away in November. And that summer we were gardening, or spring, I guess, and it was warm out. It was a hot summer day, and I was missing her so bad. And I remember crying, and I can distinctly remember even that feeling in my heart, like how it hurt my heart so bad, that cry. And I know a lot of us have had that cry. And my dad and my brother just didn't know what to do, and they didn't know how to console me. And this butterfly, this blue butterfly, just came and perched itself right on the tip of my nose, and it gave me that first butterfly kiss. And it was that instant calm. And then it perched on my arm. It perched on my left arm as if it was holding me and reminding me that she was there. I do have tattoo butterflies all over my body. What day in November did your mom pass away? Oh, sorry, I'm reading a message here. November 10th of 1983 is when my mother had passed away. She did pass away at 25 years old, so she was very young. She had a brain aneurysm, and she died at home, right beneath me, because I was a floor up. I was sleeping. I was 3 years old, and my father did CPR on her when her aneurysm blew. Back then, Western medicine at that time didn't recognize, and I'm not blaming, don't get me wrong here, I'm not blaming Western medicine, but at that time, they weren't really looking at signs and symptoms at that age for brain aneurysms. The technology really wasn't there. With that said, though, I did hold a resentment for a very, very, very long time. And I think it was even probably last year when I started releasing that resentment, that because my mother was a housewife and she took very good care of me and my brother's 4 years older, she was a woman, and she knew her body, and she knew that something was wrong, and she went to them for help to fix her, to heal her, something help. And they had just given her a shot of Demerol, and so that's a painkiller, and sent her on home. And she went back to the hospital, and she said, like, something's wrong. And they said, there's nothing we can do, sent her away. And I had that resentment that, was it because she was a woman? Was it because she wasn't educated? Why did they dismiss her, and why did they not listen to this woman who has 2 children to take care of, because her role is just as important, if not more important, at that time in that family household to get that family moving in the right direction of their future. But yeah, I do remember that day, her complaining about a headache, and her grabbing her head. I remember going to bed. I do remember her crossing over. I do write segments of that in my next book, and I know I keep saying my next book. Honestly, that book was written years ago, and I just kept ripping it apart because I was physically ripping apart my life. And I'm saying that I had to rip so many segments and these cords away from me in my life because I didn't know what needed to stick to me. I didn't know what I wanted to hang on to, let go of. So I kind of let go of everything. And now I'm just kind of bringing back those beautiful passions and those beautiful things and those memories of what I really need to keep going in this lifetime. So with that said, in the book, I'm just reading another thing. It's hard not to have resentment when you are a young child, when you lose a parent. It sticks with you for years and years and years. Yes, thank you for saying that, Sean. Because of that, I will do a reading. I wasn't going to do it, but because of that comment, I am going to do a reading. So in my other book, I do talk about when she crossed over, and it was this beautiful light. And years later, I would see that light again when my stepmother had crossed over. And that is in the book, The Lily Nurse Rebooted, Rebirth, and Finding a New Path, in the chapter called DNR. I was a first responder for my stepmom, and she died very similar to my biological mom. And I was 25, so I got to live it again. And I had always had a fear that I would die at 25 like my mother, but instead of me dying, I just got to see the light again. And I got to see a light when my stepmother, and she was a miracle in my life because she had stepped up and was a new part of our family that we needed. And when her purpose on this earth was done, I walked with her along the beach in Mexico when she was crossing over. So for anybody who would like to read more about that, you can purchase my book at any local bookstore. If they don't have it, they can order it in, or Amazon. You can order it. Julia Evans, me, the author, The Lily Nurse Rebooted, Rebirth, and Finding a New Path. I digress there. Wow, I just went on I just went into that chapter DNR and thought about that beautiful moment of my mom. But that resentment, I'm going to go back to that resentment. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Whew, snap back, Julia, get back into this world. I had to reroute the path that I was going on because I just kind of tapped into the other side there and just had a little talk with my moms. I love it when I can do that. So the morning that my mother had passed away, I was this 3-year-old little girl in a bed, and I remember it like it happened just 30 seconds ago. And that light had enveloped my room, and it was this huge light. And she was sitting on the edge of my bed, and she was humming to me. And she was humming for me to go back to sleep. And it's an old lullaby. It's an old Irish lullaby that she used to sing to me about close your eyes, go to sleep, close those big, beautiful blue eyes. And she was there with me. And ever since that moment, she stayed with me. Oh, thank you for putting that up, Allison, where you can purchase my book. Wow, I'm just going to take a moment. I'm just going to breathe that in because it was such a beautiful moment that I had with my mother. Even though I lost her physically in this physical realm, in this 3D world, you want to call it, I gained her and so much knowledge from her from a spiritual realm that I wouldn't have it any other way. Don't get me wrong, I would love to have her hold me in her arms and stroke my hair and give me those butterfly kisses on my nose and kiss me on my forehead and hold me like a mother needs to hold her child. But I have her within my cells. I have her in me, surrounding me, and that knowledge, it's so powerful. That day, and I do talk about it in my second book, it's not just the day that I lost my mother, it's actually the day I lost my father. Even though he was here physically, he went on a path of alcoholism, and I normally don't talk about that, but I'm bringing it up today because, you know, sometimes there's another reality to what you're being faced with, and that reality was my dad couldn't cope with what he experienced, and I don't fault him for that, from living with being first response to my stepmom. It's hard to go through. It's very traumatic. But my dad, instead of taking care of me at age 3 and my brother age 7, he kind of went straight to the bottle. He lost so much weight. He got down to 90 pounds. He gave up. He gave up because the love of his life wasn't with him on this earthly realm. And it wasn't until my uncle smartened him up in ways that I can only imagine, but I've heard a few stories. Younger brothers know how to handle things, let's just say that. And he said, get your SHA, get your stuff together. Well, I can't swear. Get your stuff together because you have these two beautiful children and you're teaching them not the proper tools. Those aren't the words, and we cannot swear on the radio station before 10 p.m., so you get my drift. But I stepped up in that mother role, and I stepped up and took care of the family. And that was another resentment that I had, because I and going through like even my counseling and being diagnosed with PTSD, looking at that further, I took on that role when I was 3 years old. I took on that role of that mother role. I wanted to help fix everybody. I wanted to make sure everybody else was okay. I was learning a whole new world of what it was like to help and heal people. I wanted to fix it because all I wanted was to be held. And I just needed one person to wrap their arms around me and kiss my forehead and say, it's okay to feel what you are feeling. With that said, and that's going to be a segue, I didn't think I was going to do a reading tonight. So thank you again, Sean, for making me read, because I know you're so excited to read my second book. So this is one of my chapters, the beginning of it. I'm just going to read a paragraph here, but it's called An Empath is Born. The moment my father yelled at me about my mother's departure to somewhere I couldn't get to or see was the whole moment my whole world changed. My innocent little world of wonder and awe imploded into my tiny little chest, locking up my heart to protect it from experiencing this sort of pain ever again. This pain at any age of losing a parent is so hard to heal from, especially at such a young age, when all you are wanting is reassurance that someone will always be there for you. People need that sort of compassion and love to help them through the difficult times in their life. No one wants to feel that they are alone or forgotten, left in the shadows to cope and deal with what they are experiencing and feeling completely on their own. We all experience what we need to experience and feel what we need to feel in any life-changing moment within our lives. No one deserves to face sorrow like that on their own. A bit of compassion and awareness that everyone is going through something, at the same time is often overlooked, and that is where the problem stems from. We are then made to fend for ourselves, creating belief systems, active memories of things that later in life will come back to haunt and taunt us, creating traumas and personality traits we think are helping us cope. So there's a little segment of my second book, and that's the beginning of An Empath is Born. So there's another little teaser. I did do a teaser on episode 11 of Divine Energy. So if you want to go back and listen to that, I did do a quick little reading of The Lily Nurse Rebooted, Rebirth, and Finding a New Path. Sean, I guess that's for you. He just said, I'm excited for the next book. Yeah, so that's for everybody. But yeah, there you go, Sean, because I know you really were excited to hear some more. Okay, so let's go back to that number 13. Oh, Allison, my dad died at 54. I haven't even fully healed from it. Yeah, Allison, my heart goes out to you. And I'm just going to tap into your heart for just a moment here. And I'm not going to give you a piece of mine, but I'm just going to take my heart and my heart energy and the light and the love that I experienced from the other side. I'm just going to give a sparkle of that to you, and a glimmer, and a message, actually. He's always with you, Allison. And that feeling, that breath that you always feel is him. And it's like a sigh. You're very much love. You are love. Yes, you are very much loved, but you are love. What you exude is the tools that you developed from him as well. And I know it's very hard to heal from things like that. So my heart does go out to you for a moment, and I'm going to wrap my arms around you, darling, and just give you a nice big squeeze. And if you ever need to talk, you know my number, Allison. I'm always here for you, girl. Always. I'm going to go back to the 13th hour. The 13th hour. Dun, dun, dun. I'm just like a weirdo tonight. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch like The Twilight Zone and Freddy Krueger, and I don't know, I think because I had so many traumas and so many terrors in my life, that experiencing like these really weird horror movies and whatnot, I could actually laugh at it because I'm like, oh, that doesn't even touch the horror that I've seen in my life. Anyways, when I started this program, the good evening, I think that was Elvira or something way back then. You're welcome, Allison. I was just being goofy tonight because this is my favorite number, and I can't even emphasize that enough. I'm actually holding my temporal lobes because there's so much chatter like going on in the room right now, because there's so much that wants to be said, and I'm just trying to tap into what is the most important and what is the priority of this program. Okay, as I'm having my hands up, the one thing that I see is a beautiful tattoo on my arm. So on YouTube, for those who are listening to me right now, you can tap into this. So it'll be at just before 39 minutes. You can tap in and see my tattoo there. So I actually got that 2 years ago, July 13th. It was Friday the 13th. And I just had this inkling I needed to go for a tattoo. And this is going to bring me into the next segue here. I love Friday the 13th because it's all about that feminine energy. Women actually cycle with the moon, and there's 13 moons, full moons and new moons within the year. And it's very powerful. It's what you nurture in life. It's that mother moon, that grandmother moon, but it's the cycle of life, and it's that breath. And for whatever reason, that power is feared. And I personally don't know. I've looked into it, But there's that fear of that feminine energy. Yes, we can sustain life, grow life, feed life. Without us, there would be no life. And I'm not saying men don't have a part in that too. They do. But sorry, blokes, but you only have a very small part for a very small split second. But a female will actually carry that energy. And even with a female within the womb, they actually have, how do I say this? They have 3 generations. And so it's the mother, it's the child, so in utero, so the fetus, and the fetus of a female will also have the eggs of her next generation. So it's actually 3 generations. And why do you think the power of 3 is so important in that? For anybody who's pagan or anybody who knows about spells and whatnot, it's that threefold. That 3 is very, very powerful. And so I'm just going to bring that up. But that feminine energy is often pushed aside, just like my mother. Oh, you're a female and you're a housewife. You don't really know what you're talking about. And your head's just fine. Just take this magic pill and just shut up. Oh, yeah. Little, maybe still a little bit resentment there. But hence, that's why I became a nurse. And that's one of the first chapters of my book. I deemed at age 3, and I was very determined. I wanted to be so knowledgeable. I wanted to basically change the system. I wanted that more holistic approach to be looked at as a human being, not just females, men, women. And I'm not even getting into the acronyms or whatever, the Z's, hers, they, thems. Being. I'm just going to say a human being. Every human being wants to be heard. Every human being wants to be seen and not made invisible. They want to get help to go through what they're going through and not to be pushed aside or that their feelings are not valid. We go through what we need to go through. And if we hide them, like I said, they could pop up way later in life, and then it's way harder to deal with because you don't know where all those extra little roots and all those extra little stems are coming from, and it's a lot harder to get rid of that pain than dealing with it in the first place, or breathing through it, experiencing it, fully breathing it in and fully exhaling it out. Okay, so back to the story. I almost forgot where I was going. So this tattoo is Friday the 13th, and I was at work, working as a nurse, and I always like to tell my staff of the different moons and what the moons had represented, significant days, astrological things, that powerful movement. Some people at work used to call me, oh, it's the witch, like that nurse, the witch nurse. Okay, whatever you want to call me, whatever you need to label me as, go ahead, because it doesn't penetrate through me. I know who I am. I know what I do. Yes, I do rituals. Yes, I do spells. I do nothing evil. I do everything for the good and the good for myself. And I do things to protect my heart and the things to protect my being, because I have crossed over and I really like to be here, and I really like to be with people that I love and to bring that kind of energy within my world. And I let go of all that negativity and that, I'm going to say, evil, just letting go of that. So I had brought in this information. I had this huge poster about what Friday the 13th represents. And it was about that feminine energy and that patriarchy and how it was deemed. I'm trying to remember exactly what the poster said, but it was taken away, that feminine energy, and to fear. It was to fear on. You can look it up, even just Google Friday the 13th, and it will pop up. It's probably one of the first things about that feminine energy. So I had this big poster, and I said, they're like, oh, Julia, what are you going to, like, they mocked me. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You can mock all the way. That's because it's your belief system trying to be projected on me because you don't know who you are. I know who I am. And they mocked me and said, oh, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to go and get a tattoo. And they said, that's weird. And I'm like, maybe to you, but I like telling my story on my skin because I don't like always using my words. And when certain people want to ask me what it represents, it means something so deep within, and it's an extra story within. The triumphs that I've gone through in life, through traumas and pulling myself up through hell. And I didn't go to hell. Let me just really clarify that. It's the hell that I experienced here on this earth. It's the abuse that I've had. It's the things that happened here on this earthly realm. But it's when I've pulled myself out and I've shown my strength. And so I had no idea what I was going to get. I just wanted the number 13 tattooed somewhere on my body. And the tattoo artist said, well, we don't really honor that anymore. That's so old school, the 13 for 13. Normally it used to be $13 for the number 13 to be put anywhere on the body. And he said, come back tomorrow and we'll just find a spot for you to do whatever tattoo. And I said, okay. So I was one of the first ones that arrived. And the tattoo parlor was called Gaslight. And that's really significant because I've been gaslit many times before, and it was just some crap that I was going through. And so as I was waiting outside, talking to these wonderful people who are getting tattoos the same day and their stories of why they're getting it. And I had no idea what I was getting. And they said, what do you mean you have no idea? I said, it's going to come to me. And just like this radio show, something's going to speak to me. Then all of a sudden, right when I was signing my paper to what I wanted on my arm, it's called a Zybrew angelic symbol. And it's also known as, it's a Celtic symbol, and it's for unconditional love and strength. And I know you can find it on Pinterest, and that's where I actually found it. I think I found it on Pinterest or something. I'm like, that's it. But there is a meaning behind it, a further, deeper meaning, because that's who I am. I like those deeper meanings, because there's always something more to the story. And it's about this woman from California, and I believe, I want to say 2016 or something like that. This woman had crossed over, and it's the Zybrew angelic symbols, and she had created tarot cards and these symbols. And these symbols were from Beyond the Veil. Oh, funny, that's the name of my show. And she said that it was just these messages from beyond the veil, from these angels. And I had shown one of my best friends, and we've been friends since 1988. And I just text her because she's like, I can't believe you're just going for a random tattoo for Friday the 13th. And so I sent her this picture, and she goes, oh, well, that's your symbol. And I said, yeah, I know, I'm getting it tattooed. I just Googled it. She goes, no. That's the symbol you used to draw on your walls when you were 8 years old. And as I'm saying it, I'm just getting a huge shift. And like I said on one of my other programs, that's when you have that Kundalini energy. That's when all your cells start talking to each other and everything comes back in alignment. I've been drawing this symbol since I was 8 years old. I knew who I was way back then. I could breathe in, I could dance and flow. And I love doing that dance with the scarves and being free from just life and breathing every beautiful essence of this world in. But I got this tattoo, and I was telling the owner, because the owner wanted to do the tattoo on me. And I was telling him the story, and of course he's rolling his eyes like, oh, okay, another Celtic symbol. And I said, you probably get a lot of people telling you their stories, and you probably don't give a crap. And that's okay. And I said, I just wanted to tell it out loud, not to you, but just so I can hear it. And I said, I'm the Lily Nurse. And as he said that, there's actually a little blurb, I don't know how to call it, screw up on my tattoo. And he dragged the tattoo gun on my arm. And so I have this little blurb on my beautiful symbol here. And I love it. I love the little blurb. And he looked at me and he goes, you're the tattoo, or you're the Lily Nurse. My mom knows all about you. She has your book and your story. about crossing over. And I said, oh, now you're interested in my story. And I said, yeah. I said, when I came back, I had to live through hell and have been, hence why I came here at Gaslight. He goes, man, I should have never picked that name. You know how many people come here just because I have that name that are going through stuff? Oh, crazy. Blowout, I think it's called. Oh, blowout. Oh, thank you. I'm like, blowout. Oh, the blowout. No, it's like a blurb. No, that's the name I'm going to say, Chantel. It's like a blurb. I'll show. It's like a little kind of like blimp on my beautiful tattoo here. Anyways, this man, he kind of leaned back and he goes, I heard you're trying to get your back done. So I've been looking for a tattoo artist to do my wings on my back, and I've had them designed ever since I came back into this earthly realm after my crossover. And when I was working at my last community area, I worked with elders of the Aboriginal population. And so they deemed me, and they actually called my Aboriginal name. I'm not Aboriginal, but when you work with the elders, you're gifted a name. And they used to call me the angel that walks the earth. And so I wanted the angel wings tattooed to my back, so then the world could see not just me and my glowing and my piercing blue eyes, but I wanted to show off my wings more ways than one. And over the years, I realized it's not that I have to show off my wings, because I don't really need to. It's the breath that I show off, and it's the breath of life that I have to breathe the essence of this in and just hold it. And just every morning I wake up, and that's the first thing I do, breathe in life. And I'm so grateful for yet another day. So I'm going to go back to Discord here. So there's a message here. My dad passed at 70 in 2012. He still visits, but even with that, I am not sure I will ever get over it. I'm very sorry for your loss as well. And I'm just going to reflect why people are saying getting over it. I'm going to be very honest. It's a hard thing to say, but I don't think you ever do get over it, because it's such a significant part of your life. And it's not about getting over it or letting go. It's just about coping through and learning how to cope a different way with them without them physically being here. Physically being able to hold their hands or have them at the dinner table, but you can honor them. Like for family meals, a lot of times I'll hold a seat for my mom, or Christmas we'll light a candle. I put an extra ornament on the tree on her birthday or her crossing over. We light a candle and just honor her. For Day of the Dead, we do the magnolias, and we honor pictures. And as long as you keep them in your heart and in your mind, they'll always be with you, because they're in your cells, especially. And I don't know if it's a biological parent that you guys have missed, but regardless if it's an adopted parent, a foster parent, an aunt and uncle that's taking care of you, it doesn't matter who you've lost. They almost become within your bloodstream, because they became part of your life and a part of your journey, and they become a part of you to create the significant and beautiful parts of you. But they do always stay with you. And it's okay to breathe that in. It's okay to cry every once in a while, because it's just washing the windshield of your soul and remembering that your light needs to shine through as well. Just a reminder of that. Okay, just trying to catch up on a few of my messages here. Thank you everybody who's been messaging in. I've kind of forgot a few of my screens here. With that said, I can see it because I'm videotaping it, but I changed a little bit of my background tonight, and there's going to be a very powerful image, and I'm pointing to her right now. I bought her, and it's this beautiful scroll that I opened up. And when I went to my girlfriend's store the other day, the broom closet in Regina, Saskatchewan. They just changed locations. I walked in and I took a breath of this poster and I said, wow. Like, to stand in front of it, it gave me this breath that I never ever had before. And I actually bought it. I bought it yesterday on the 28th. And it's this beautiful image, and it almost looks like Mary, but it's an empress. And she's wearing a white cloak, and you can't see her eyes, but if you study her face, it's almost like you can see her eyes looking into you, and it almost looks 3D. And she's coming from this burning. And when I saw this image, I'm like, oh, it looks like the burning of my book. And you can see like little scripture things in her cloak and the way her hands are. And she's owning her life. And I had to buy it. And so you're going to see it on the video because it's so powerful. And it almost looks like a ghost behind me. I just love it. With that said, I will be burning some more pieces of my book. That is what all of my artwork is all about, is burning the parts that no longer need to be attached to me at all. I'm just going to read this. It is something we learn to integrate into who we are. So much of what we are and do as pagans deal with beyond the veil. Laugh out loud. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't really understand what pagans do, and a lot of people fear it, and a lot of people like to call us witches. And like, I don't know about you, I practice a lot of things, but it's only at Halloween I wear a black hat, only for the props of my haunted house. I don't have warts, I don't look horrendous, I don't do anything evil, but you don't want to mess with me either. I'm just gonna say that. But with pagan, it's about honoring life. It's honoring what's around us, and it's all of us matter. It's just not one individual. It's the elements, and just bringing that in. I didn't even mention what the significance, and I'm going to tie up this show with this. There's a huge significance of this day and a huge announcement, and I didn't know if I was going to do it, but I am. It's going to be a shock. But today is leap year. We get a bonus day. Woohoo! It is a leap year. With that said, because of this bonus day, it creates this beautiful transcend to warp speed anything that you've been putting behind you, and it's ready to come full fruition right now. With that said, you can manifest so much right now, and things are going to happen very quickly. So hang on, drink some water, and get a lot of rest, because the things you've been putting off is ready to kick in high gear. With that said, and I'm trying to say the last few things as I have about 2 minutes left. Today, if you look at it, 2 + 2 + 9 = 13. I'm going to say my goodbyes. As I always say at the end of my program, I bid you farewell and goodbye. I am going to be leaving the show. I'm going to take a little break for a bit so I can get my book out. I didn't think I was going to do it. And Allison and Matt, I will talk to you after this. Sorry for the shock. But I'm going to bid you farewell, and I am going to bid you goodbye. I give you all peace, and I give you all love, and I'm going to hold you all in my heart. Remember to keep breathing in. You can always get a hold of me on any platform, the Lily Nurse on Instagram, or on Facebook, Julia Evans. Peace and love, everyone. Take care of yourselves out there. Love you all. Good night.